Call this meeting to order. Kathy, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ann. If you'd call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Saleh, Mayor Lucklider,
Here.
Mr. Keenan, Mrs. Boring, and Mr. Gerber.
Great, thank you. As you can see, we have two council members who are out of town and unable to be with us this evening. We have a couple of, one presentation and one proclamation this evening. We'll begin with the presentation. It's an update from Parents Encouraging Responsible Choices, or PERC, and it's my understanding that Kathy Harder and Sue Huttress, I apologize. If you'd come forward, please. And good evening, and if you'd state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Kathy Harder, and this is Sue Huttress.
Can we get your address too, please?
Oh, I'm at 7825 Holliston Court in Dublin.
Great.
I'm at 7834 Silver Rose Court, Dublin.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council, for the opportunity to speak with you this evening about PERC. I'm Kathy Harder again. I'm president of PERC this year, and this is Sue Huttress, our past president. And thanks for the opportunity to come tonight, and also for your ongoing support of PERC. We've had many, you've helped us in many ways, and we're very grateful. And not too long ago, several council members have participated in many of our programs, and thank you very much, thank you, and also for the round tables and breakout sessions. That was great. And so we do understand that you really have a good idea about what PERC is. Sue's going to pass around some of our upcoming events and so forth too. But let me tell you just a little bit about PERC. PERC, it's Parents Encouraging Responsible Choices. It's a committee of Dublin parents, educators, and community leaders whose mission is to empower parents, encourage, and inform and responsible choices for our children in the community. PERC provides programming that helps to facilitate parent networking and give useful tools for parents. If we have parents who come to our meetings and they write down things and then they leave with tools, and that helps them at home, and we look at those as very, very good meetings. We meet at Dublin City Schools Central Office on the third Wednesday of the month at 9:30 in the morning, and all are welcome. Over the years, our past president, Sue Huttress, and our committee have worked hard to bring community leaders together and to work under the same umbrella so that we don't have problems of duplications of different programming within the community. And it also helps Dublin citizens with these important issues that we're all kind of working together about, the issues that are at hand and on their minds about their children. And then I think this also builds a great rapport with one another to bring good programming, again, to Dublin. And attending our meetings under this umbrella, we have Dublin Act, Nationwide Children's Hospital, Dublin City Schools. We have also the guidance counselors from Dublin City Schools come to our meetings, and Dublin parents, and so on. And we would be delighted if at all possible, you all are welcome to come to our meetings as well, because you would be a great help to bringing some things, ideas and so forth for upcoming programs that we have. But let me tell you, we're excited to tell you about our upcoming PERC program. It's Healthy Lifestyles, it's Fun, Fitness, and Family, and Food to Fuel It. The date's April 24th. It's at the Dublin Recreation Center in the Talus Rooms. We usually have two meetings that are usually the same topic, and one is in the morning at 9:30 to 11, and then our evening program starts at 7 until 8:30. And thanks again for your ongoing support for PERC. We very much appreciate the Recreation Center Talus Room being available at no charge to us. This has saved us a considerable amount of money. On a few occasions, we've had a need for the theater at the Recreation Center, which has been a cost for PERC. We would respectfully request that that cost be eliminated if all possible. Also, we also appreciate the community support that we get around the area. Not too long ago, Tim Hortons on Avery Road donated coffee and donuts, and that's always very much appreciative. And that brings me to our funding. So we receive a grant from Dublin Act, which we're greatly appreciative for, but also the Dublin PTOs also give us a donation, which probably averages around $100. So we work with with those monies and in a very wise way. If you would like to learn more about PERC, you can go to our website. It's www.percdublin.org. And we'd like to publicly thank Mr. Armstrong over at Davis Middle School. He helps us work on our website a lot. But we thank you again for your ongoing support. And again, take a look at our pamphlets that we brought about our programming. And we appreciate this time this evening. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, next up we have a proclamation, and Mr. Ross Youngs, if you're in the audience this evening. Here we are.
He is, but I'm going to steal his thunder for just a moment.
Okay, please.
Next week is National Entrepreneur Week, and in Dublin we like to celebrate that. It's just so fitting that we're also having our deck open house this Wednesday to cut the ribbon on our brand new facility. And what is really exciting is that Mr. Ross Young's company, Biosortia Pharmaceutical, is one of our newest deck tenants, and they have a lot of very exciting things going on. So we actually invited him here this evening to receive the proclamation for Entrepreneurship Week. I would like to point out that Ross Youngs holds 75 patents, and since 1980, he has been inventing technologies and products for a variety of industries. In 1988, he founded Univenture, which also spun off into other companies, Unikeep, BioBent Plastics, Algae Venture Systems, and Biosortia Pharmaceuticals. I would tell you about it, but it's lots of big words and it's very confusing, so if you'd like more details on the company, I'm sure he'd like to explain that to you. It's also important to note that he was named the National Business Person of the Year in 1998 by the SBA. And Univenture is a 5-time Inc. 500 company that has numerous technical and market recognitions. So we've got quite the serial entrepreneur here this evening. And I will turn it over to Ross Youngs and, for the proclamation.
Mr. Youngs, before I proceed with the proclamation, why don't you tell us a little bit about this particular company?
Well, the company that we just moved to Dublin, Ohio, is Biosortia Pharmaceuticals. And there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies in the world. Ours is focused on drug discovery. So what our unique advantage is virtually all the drugs that have come from natural products come from basically organisms on this planet, whether it be tree bark or microorganisms. And you can get them. You can actually grab them or grow them. But remarkably, even as advanced as technology is, only 1% of all microorganisms on this planet can actually be cultured. And the technology that we basically developed under a grant from the ARPA administration, the Advanced Research Projects Administration of the Department of Energy, through Algae Venture Systems, we came up with a technology that allows us to go to the natural environment and grab enough of those microorganisms to actually study them for what's called the secondary metabolites, or the drugs they produce. So that means if a lot of the natural products came from 1% of the microorganisms, and we can now go grab all of the microorganisms and study them, it's something like a 99-fold or a 99x increase in our ability to study natural products for drugs. So we think it's an amazing advancement that will turn the drug discovery world on its ear in time. But my experience as an entrepreneur suggests that overnight successes take years in the making. So you are hearing about it early. It's a startup company that is now essentially 4 years in the making already.
That's great. Well, if you will stay there. next to me will face this direction. Thank you. And I will read the proclamation. It states as follows: whereas entrepreneurship is vital to Dublin's growth and prosperity in the highly competitive global economy, and whereas most of the new jobs created throughout the United States in the past decade have come from the creative efforts of entrepreneurs and small businesses, and whereas the Partnership for the 21st Century Skills identified entrepreneurial literacy skills as one of the 21st century content areas critical to success in communities and workplaces, and whereas more than 70% of young Americans envision starting a business or engaging in something entrepreneurial as adults, and whereas a broad coalition of partner organizations in Dublin, the state of Ohio, and throughout the United States, including Tech Columbus, is actively engaged in enhancing entrepreneurial opportunities, and whereas encouraging youth to be excited about entrepreneurship and working to expand the knowledge, skills, and attitudes of Dublin's youth and adults to be successful entrepreneurs are crucial to the long-term growth of Dublin, the state of Ohio, and the nation. Whereas National Entrepreneurship Week provides an opportunity to focus on the innovative ways in which entrepreneurship brings together the core academic, technical, and problem-solving skills essential for the success of future entrepreneurs and workers. Now, therefore, I, Timothy A. Lechleiter, Mayor of Dublin, on behalf of Dublin City Council, do hereby join with our nation in proclaiming February 16th through the 23rd, 2013, as National Entrepreneurship Week in the City of Dublin, and encourage all citizens to celebrate the creativity, contributions, and achievements of entrepreneurs in our community, state, and nation. Absolutely. And some of us will see you Wednesday morning.
Terrific. I'm going to just take an opportunity to thank the mayor and thank council for the recognition and for the opportunity to say some words about entrepreneurial endeavors. I have been a resident in Dublin, Ohio since 1986, and an entrepreneur who has companies located in the city or in the region since 1988. The business person in me congratulates the city's leadership on the foresight and efforts to create an environment that is nurturing to startup businesses. Any effort to coordinate knowledge and productively assist innovative, sustainable businesses will be a benefit to the community. Good ideas come and go. They succeed and fail. But the skills and the experience required will get broader and deeper within the community, improving the opportunity to realize a benefit and ultimately a return on investment. As the resident, I congratulate the city's leadership and the foresight and their efforts to create a community with the diversity and the quality of services available to the residents and businesses. I also encourage the city's leadership to be mindful that any pursuit of opportunity to improve services should engulf best practices with a drive to best in class as an objective. The residents of Dublin excel at all we do. We appreciate and respect the culture of achievement. From city services staff to our school system staff, nothing makes us prouder than knowing the staff and their leadership are working to build and deliver a culture of success and with accomplishments everyone can be proud. Thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you very much. Moving on to that part of our agenda, for citizens to comment on items not appearing on our agenda. Mr. Maurer, if you'd like to come forward.
Your Honor, members of council and members of city administration, I've come up here tonight to make an announcement which might create immense delight, uncontrollable delight, or it might also cause some concern and sorrow among my millions of followers. At the end of the last council meeting, I suddenly realized with some alarm and dismay that I was getting to do, that I was doing more here and getting involved in doing more here than I should, and it was becoming detrimental to two huge obligations which I have. And I'll still come up perhaps at citizen comment, but the obligations are that I have 2 piano concerts on which I'm working endlessly, and one of them is in Columbus and one of them is in Dublin. So on those, for that reason, well, I don't have to ask you for forgiveness on this. I will have to cut back on what I'm doing, what I do, whatever it's worth here in council. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mauer, and good luck. Moving on to our consent agenda, we have 7 items on tonight's consent agenda. This would be the opportunity for any council member to ask to remove any one of those 7 items or more from this evening's consent agenda. Hearing no indication to that effect, I would move that we approve the actions for the 7 items listed on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And if you call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Salee. Yes. Mayor Lucklider.
Yes.
Mr. Keenan.
Yes.
Mr. Gerber.
Yes.
Mrs. Boring.
Yes.
Caught me off guard. It doesn't take as long when 2 are missing. Now, don't get any ideas, people. Okay, moving along to second readings, beginning with ordinance 03-13.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a master memorandum of understanding with the Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation for land reutilization.
Thank you. Angel.
Good evening, members of council. We are requesting passage of ordinance 3-13 this evening, which is an MOU with Franklin County and the Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation, which has now become Franklin County's designated land bank. This is an extension of a program that council adopted in 2008, and the intent behind it is that if there are properties within Franklin County, and specifically within Dublin, that the county is set to foreclose upon due to delinquent taxes, this MOU allows the city the first right to acquire the property, but it does not obligate the city to purchase this property or acquire the property. The goal is simply to return these properties, these otherwise blighted, vacant, abandoned, tax delinquent properties, into productive use. We would not expect this system to be utilized very frequently within Dublin, but nonetheless, we feel it's important to have it in place should the need arise.
Any questions? Hearing none. Ann, if you'd call for the vote, please.
Mayor Lucklider.
Yes.
Mr. Gerber.
Yes.
Mr. Keenan.
Yes.
Mrs. Boring. And Vice Mayor Salee.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Ordinance 04-13.
Declaring improvement to certain parcels of real property to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund, providing for collection and deposit of service payments into that fund, specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcels, authorizing make-whole compensation payments to the Dublin City School District and the Tolles Career and Technical Center. This is for Franklin County.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
2 weeks ago, we discussed with you the establishment of the tax increment financing area in the properties surrounding the 2 buildings purchased by Ohio University for their College of Osteopathic Medicine. This is just second reading, and certainly if there are any questions that council members have, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none. Ann, if you call for the vote, please.
Mayor Lucklider.
Yes.
Mr. Keenan.
Yes.
Mr. Gerber.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Salee.
Yes.
Mrs. Boring.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Ordinance 05-13.
Declaring improvement to certain parcels of real property to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund, providing for the collection of deposit of service payments into that fund, specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcels, authorizing make-whole compensation payments to the Dublin City School District and the Tolles Career and Technical Center. This is for Union County.
Great, thank you.
Same information as the ordinance you just passed, but for Union County.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Ann, if you call for the vote, please.
Mrs. Boring. Mr. Gerber.
Yes.
Mayor Lucklider.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Salee.
Yes.
Mr. Keenan.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Moving on to ordinance 07-13.
Authorizing the city manager to execute necessary conveyance documentation to acquire 0.1030 acre more or less permanent multi-use utility grading and drainage easement in a 0.031 acre more or less temporary easement from James D. and Molly B. Nestor.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, Sarah.
Good evening. This is an easement, both temporary and permanent easements necessary for construction of Phase 2 of the Dublin Road South multi-use path. This section stretches from Hertford Lane to Rings Road. As you recall, last fall we constructed the first phase that went from Tuttle to Hertford. It's approximately 1,500 feet. We were able to acquire these interests from James D. and Molly B. Nestor at their appraised value.
Questions, comments?
Just curious, how are you coming with the other acquisitions, or where are we at in the process? Is this towards the end?
Good news. You had first reading this evening on the other one that we need for this section, a historic home on Dublin Road South, if you'll recall, at 5701 Dublin Road. And with those, we'll be prepared to bid Section 2 here probably in the next 60 days.
And Section 2 runs from where to where?
Hertford Lane to Rings Road.
Good, thank you.
The one thing I'd just like to add, we started looking at how we could negotiate or discuss with the property owners differently, and Sarah and Mike Sweeter from the engineering department have done a very nice job of working with the residents and keeping them up to date and continuing to meet with them. So I think the fact that we're going to have by the end of February all the acquisitions that we need for this next phase is a good indication of that, and they deserve a lot of credit for their efforts.
And hopefully we'll have the same experience on Brand Road.
We're working there. I just received appraisals today, so getting ready to meet with those owners as well.
I think we know you're doing good because the phones haven't been all that busy, so thank you for that.
Sarah, thank you. Also, the biggest complaint I have is that we don't know what's going on, that staff hasn't contacted us. So I'm sure you're very, very cognizant of that and doing a great job, because Marcia just mentioned that. So thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you. And if you call for the vote, please.
Mrs. Waring? Yes. Mr. Gerber?
Yes.
Mr. Keenan? Yes. Mayor Lucklider?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Salee?
Yes.
Ordinance 08-13.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a land exchange agreement with John W. McKittrick for property necessary for the Emerald Parkway extension from Dublin Road to Sawmill Road.
Thank you. Mr. McDaniel?
Nothing to add from last meeting's presentation, Mayor, other than to answer any questions you might have.
Questions or comments? Hearing none. Ann, if you call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Salee? Yes. Mayor Lucklider?
Yes.
Mrs. Waring? Yes. Mr. Gerber?
Yes.
Mr. Keenan? Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 09-13.
Authorizing the city manager to execute an emergency mutual aid agreement with various jurisdictions working in conjunction with Franklin County.
Thank you. Mr. Somerville.
Mayors, members of council, good evening. This was discussed at your meeting 2 weeks ago. This particular ordinance relates to the emergency mutual aid agreement for the provision of law enforcement services to and from our neighboring partners within Franklin County, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Questions or comments?
Just a comment. It's always good to hear your voice, Jay. I think I listened to it on the radio for 20-some years.
Well, thank you, Mr. Keenan. I appreciate that. I don't get that very often, so.
That's it? Okay.
Wow.
Very good.
Tonight.
Very good. Very good. All right.
Ladder 81, ladder 81.
Thank you. And if you call for the vote, please.
Mr. Gerber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Salee?
Yes.
Mrs. Waring? Yes. Mayor Lucklider?
Yes.
Mr. Keenan? Yes.
Jay, I didn't mean to suggest that. That's,
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that.
I appreciate hearing your voice and seeing you in person as well.
Thank you.
Ordinance 10-13.
Authorizing the city manager to execute a mutual aid agreement for law enforcement with various jurisdictions working in conjunction with Franklin County.
And again, Mayor, members of council, this is the mutual aid agreement that will allow us to enter into cooperative agreements with other signatory law enforcement agencies across Franklin County. It will also promote the Central Ohio Regional Enforcement concept, where we can share services for large-scale investigations, large-scale events, things that we were able to do under the emergency mutual aid agreement. This makes it a little bit more formal, a little bit more official, and allows us to work a little bit more flexibly with our neighbors. So, again, be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Hearing none, Ann, if you call for the vote.
Mr. Keenan? Yes. Mr. Gerber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Salee?
Yes.
Mrs. Boring? Mayor Lucklider?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our first reading of ordinances, ordinance 16-13.
Authorizing provision of certain incentives to CareWorks to induce it to retain and expand an office and associated operations and workforce within the city, authorizing execution of an economic development agreement.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you.
Good
Yes.
evening. CareWorks will be here for the second reading if you have any specific questions for the company, but we have been in discussion with them. They're currently in 2 facilities along Glendon Court, just off of Emerald Parkway, and their expansion has been pretty significant over the last several years. They are in the midst now of renegotiating their lease to do an extension through 2019, and in order to do so, they also need extra square footage to grow in both buildings to accommodate the headcount growth. When they were evaluating facilities, obviously, when you're taking up more square footage in 2 facilities, they were looking at several other communities and facilities in other communities where they could accommodate all of that growth under one roof. So tonight and at the second reading, what we have proposed is a 3-year 15% performance incentive for the company to retain its jobs and to grow it up to 860 jobs. And it is capped at $395,000 over that term. It is important to note that they're under an existing agreement with us right now that goes through 2014 with its current lease for its current headcount, and they have been exceeding their growth expectations tremendously. So I can answer any questions tonight, and like I mentioned, the company will be here at the second reading to answer additional questions.
Questions, comments?
The fiber is not additional fiber, it's just a renewal of existing fibers?
Correct. It is just a renewal.
Okay, thank
That
you.
always runs with the lease term. Their existing lease, yes. So what they're looking to do is add more square footage. They're not in both buildings entirely, so they're able to grow with an additional 14,000 square feet into both of those buildings.
Anyone else? Okay. We look forward to the second reading on the 25th. Thank you. All right, moving on to the resolution phase of the agenda. Resolution 06-13.
Policy for the Dublin Community Recreation Center and community pools.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. Mr. Ehrman.
Good evening. The policy before you this evening is an example of the city taking great measures to make sure that our facilities remain as safe as possible for our patrons and our residents. And the prohibition that's included in this access policy is designed to limit access to certain areas of the recreation center, including the restricted pass areas beyond the check-in desk, and also at our 2 outdoor community pools. And recognizing that this policy will not prevent all risks associated with certain individuals that are accessing our facilities, it is as a proactive measure for us to do what we can with what information or resources we have to best implement those practices. So this policy is to limit access for sex offenders in those defined areas. And currently, in 2012, we initiated a photo identification requirement to access the recreation center. So this would enhance that requirement and use the information collected from those identification cards to the registered sex offender database. And upon a positive match associated with that check, staff will work with the Dublin Police Department, verify the positive match if so, and use discrete measures to make sure that either we remove that individual from the facility or we will communicate that with that individual for future access points into those facilities. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time.
Questions or comments?
Now, Matt, with the cards that people use to get into the rec center, the little passes that you scan, I'm assuming that a photo ID pops up, that the staff sees that?
That's correct.
Okay. I never knew what was on the other side of that screen. Thank you.
Anyone else? And if you call for the vote, please.
Mr. Keenan?
Yes.
Mr. Gerber?
Yes.
Mrs. Maureen? Vice Mayor Salee?
Yes.
Mayor Lucklider?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution 07-13.
Approving an amendment to the agreement between the City of Dublin and the Dublin Soccer League, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. Mr. Herman.
Thank you. The amended agreement before you tonight is a reflection of a variety of things that either are in need of being addressed or opportunities that exist for us to enhance some of the foundations on which the community program is based. I have to start off with acknowledging that the Dublin Soccer League provides a very robust, successful program for the recreation component of our soccer community. They have been in place for quite some time. They do an excellent job administering the program and delivering the program. So I want to make sure that I send out the kudos to the Dublin Soccer League for their efforts in creating that wonderful program. As you all know, there is quite a background here in Dublin. Soccer is a very popular sport for youth. It is a sport that brings somewhat controversy in certain situations because of that popularity. And those continuing issues are what led us to find the need to make some changes to the existing structure. The amendment here also was designed knowing that we have new opportunities in the community, and I will talk about those here in just a few minutes. But I want to talk a little bit briefly about the model itself to show you what currently is in place for the soccer community. If I can get this to show. Pardon the interruption. It's on there. As this comes up, I'll briefly describe the model. The model is a triangular model with the recreation component being the foundation on which the model is built. It is the primary service to the community. It is the city's #1 obligation to the community when it comes to soccer youth recreation programs. And with that, it contains the majority of the number of players that are participating in the sport. And you can see by the model there, the recreation level at the very bottom consists of about 2,400 players currently. And then above that is everything that's above the general recreation program, including the middle tier level of play. And then above that is the select or the elite level of play. And the reason I wanted to show this model for the program is I've got some arrows indicating the up and down motion of how players move in and out of each of these different levels. And we have 4 organizations that are currently providing this service at various levels and competing for resources and players and the success of their organization and for their players. So there lends to be quite a significant amount of need for synergy to come into play for that model to take effect as the way it's demonstrated there. What this amendment basically illustrates in a chart, if I can, because I know that in words describing it is sometimes difficult, but basically it's taking the recreation program and separating it from all of the competitive soccer, allowing the recreation program that's provided by Dublin Soccer League to focus solely on that recreation program without the influence of all of the higher level competitive play. And I think that if the Dublin Soccer League were allowed to focus their meetings and their programming and all of the services towards just recreation, I feel as though they'll even be stronger to deliver those services. One of the exciting things that we learned about a couple years ago was the schools were working towards a soccer program as part of their community education program. And it wasn't until recently that they have announced that they're going to begin that program, offering it to the community this fall for ages 9 through 14. It'll be a middle tier component, which will be above recreation competitive play, at a slightly larger fee than recreation, but a slightly less fee than the elite program. It'll be non-exclusionary tryouts, meaning every kid can play, regardless of their levels. They will be placed on teams according to that level, and then slotted and carted into Mosul to their abilities to play. And then with that, our goal with this model is in hopes that the schools will work with the elite and select levels, all the clubs that exist in the community currently, to work with them for the development of the upper level section of this triangle. And I think by working with the schools and the existing club organizations, it brings a series of positive value to the community. And I'll get into some of those more specifically. What the schools are proposing to do would actually go into effect this fall. So this amendment is timely so that they can actually begin that program, and we can make sure that we're addressing some of these other issues that exist. So just as a quick summary about what this amendment provides is it does provide a focus on the recreation program. It continues to build the existing partnership with the schools and their community education program, sets a foundation for a more community-based program, allowing these organizations to work together at the above recreation play. And one of the things that the city's school district is hoping to do is open up their league play and any partnership that they develop to using their school fields. And as we know, Dublin City fields are near capacity, and I think this will also help reduce those capacity issues that we're currently facing. In addition to these things in this agreement, there is a enhancement to the stringent background checks that are currently required depending on the parent organization of each of these organizations. We are increasing that level of background checks to include all personnel, administrators, board of directors, coaches, anybody affiliated with each of these organizations, regardless of their supervision or being alone with kids, to also qualify for the risk management background checks with those parent organizations. And I think it's important that I bring this up tonight as a couple of caveats to some of the things that either were learned about or concerns that were raised with this agreement. I want to make sure that in this agreement there are qualifiers for the general recreation program under which Dublin Soccer League delivers its programs that may conflict with a couple of their existing programs that they feel strongly, and I certainly condone that or support that they would continue to offer these programs. And those include the middle school soccer program, the high school soccer program, and their DSX program. And these are current programs in place, and I would imagine that it would be in the best interest for them to continue with those programs. It's also important to note that this agreement would be effective for the fall season of 2013. With the exception of the background checks, which we are anticipating that those background check requirements will be administered as quickly as possible or as practical as possible. And the third item up there, I want to make sure that it's understood throughout the soccer community that there are a variety of organizations out there, and this amendment does not exclude any organization. It does not require a child or a parent to choose a specific organization, regardless of the level of play. All of the organizations that currently exist have options to partner with the schools. They also have the option to stand alone and operate under the individual aspects of their current operation. And the city will continue to make sure that the kids that are playing for each of those organizations are still accommodated for fields, so long as those additional resources are available above the recreation program. So with that, I will conclude my statement, but I would like to recognize that we do have Mary Ann Grimes, who is head of our community education program for the Dublin schools, and I think she'd like to say a couple of words about their program, if you don't mind, and then we'll answer questions.
And if I may, Mayor and council members, while she's coming up to the podium, just from a procedural standpoint, I just kind of wanted to explain what's going on here. Council approved a 3-year agreement with Dublin Soccer League in July of last year. What we are asking to do is amend that agreement. And any amendment would have to go both before council and before the DSL board. So I just wanted to let folks know that not only will they have an opportunity tonight, but they'll also have an opportunity at the DSL level to vote on the amendment.
Thank you. Ms. Grimes? Good
Hi,
evening.
I am the Mary Ann Grimes. I'm the Community Education Coordinator for Dublin City Schools. So on the behalf of Dublin City Schools, I'm here to talk just a little bit in generalities of some of the things that Matt also talked about. First of all, we want to thank the City of Dublin and some of the opportunities that we've had in partnerships. Our community ed programs are in partnerships of, if you look into Healthy Dublin, our classes are all in combined together and working together. It's been, excuse me, a great pleasure to work with Kurt and all those guys of putting our community ed and the rate in which we are growing with our community ed and the strength of community ed is growing enormously every day. So, and with some of the realms of going into, you know, some of the soccer fields and the field of soccer, not literally to the fields, and working with Matt, and we really appreciate all the support that we've gotten and the help that we've gotten there. This is an extension of our community education program. It's just another identity. We've also started club volleyball with that. It's one of the ways that we feel that we can, within Dublin schools, we have great facilities. To use those to the best that we can, an affordable expertise level of coaching. We have some tremendous coaches in the City of Dublin in the school system to head those things up. But the soccer, we would like it to make it a very affordable, high level of play, the best that we can within the level that the players are, within that middle tier, within that middle school range. Really working with the middle school as we've done that with club volleyball, now working with the soccer, and using all the resources that we have that are available between the schools and maybe even the elite clubs as we're working on those formalities at this point now too, and the City of Dublin, as we're just working on the strength of Dublin City Schools, City of Dublin becoming stronger for all of our residents, of all of our kids that are here in this community, that bringing and having and I know as an ex-basketball coach at Dublin Kaufman, all the students having to travel such distance and being out of town during other tournaments. And I'm in the middle of basketball season and playing in a regional championship game, and I have girls going to club volleyball that are paying an enormous amount, and so everyone is conflicting. We really want to keep this into affordable so that our students and our kids stay here and play great quality tournaments at a lesser cost than what's out there now in some of the clubs. And so work with that and using our facilities and using our resources that we have. I think this has tremendous abilities for tremendous growth for all of our Dublin kids, and this is about the kids. And we're in the field of kids with the Dublin school system, so we want to provide that as well as we can.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we have a number of people signed up to speak to this particular resolution. I'm just going to go down the list as people signed up. There's a time limit on your comments. Can you come to the podium? If you state your name and address, you'll see the green light, and then you'll get a yellow, and then you'll get a red. Okay? First name, and you'll forgive me. Some handwriting is better than others. Carrie. That's okay. I'm struggling with the last name. Stearns, thank you.
Carrie Stearns, my address is 7269 Coventry Winds Drive, Dublin. First off, I want to thank Mayor and the Council for allowing me to speak this evening. Next, I appreciate the support that the City of Dublin has always given the Dublin Soccer League over the existence of our program. We are very proud to represent the Dublin Soccer League and are equally proud of its thriving success. The existing structure actually works extremely well, and that's true in our numbers and very valid through the feedback you can get from all of our families and coaches and participants. We at the Dublin Soccer League completely support the portions of this amendment in reference to risk management and background checks. We believe the safety of our kids is paramount, but there are other issues of concerns included in this amendment. duplication of services in order to fulfill a majority of the proposed changes to the Dublin Soccer League agreement within the city. We are giving way to the production of soccer programs within our city which directly compete with the ones already established and which are already a success here. In the DSL these programs that are proposed will inevitably negatively impact the Dublin Soccer League. One thing I believe the council respectfully may not be aware of is that the proposed program with the schools is not capable of being sustained as just a, quote, middle-tier program. The reason for this is any no-cut, no-tryout sport in this community will attract the exact same children that we service through the Dublin Soccer League. We service any children, just as he said this program would service, which makes it not a middle-tier program. A middle-tier program is a more competitive program. It's not a recreation-type team. So that isn't exactly, to my knowledge, a factual statement. The DSL is well established and well regarded in Dublin. It serves, like Matt said, over 2,400 children and families, and I do not believe fixing a program that isn't broke goes against exactly what the city believes in and sought all these years when it comes to soccer. Middle tier also exists within Dublin United, and over 450 families in this community will attest to that. Middle tier is also what Matt Ehrman has mentioned DSX is, and it's a completely contradictory statement to this council to say that he wants to start a new middle tier program with the schools, but he'll support DSX program, which is already a middle tier program. To me, that's just confusing. In closing, as a member of the Dublin Soccer League Board of Directors, I want to express to this council that our board and staff has never been in support of this program, nor have we ever been made aware of this was even happening. Our board was kept in the dark, and we are very disappointed that this has happened the way it has. Minimally, we ask respectfully that this matter be tabled pending further discussion by this council and its members. Thank you.
Thank you. Natalie Stellini.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Natalie Stellini. I currently serve as vice chair on the Dublin Soccer League board. I reside at 5545 Adventure Drive in Dublin. I have a lot of points. Of course, Carrie went over a lot of them. My first one is, Matt did mention that we already have 4 soccer communities that are in place in Dublin. We have Dublin Soccer League, which is the recreational community. We have Dublin United, which is the middle tier community. We have Club Ohio and Ohio Premier, which are the select at the top communities. It is my understanding that the new school program that they are initiating is working with Ohio Premier. And with this, Marianne Grimes, had mentioned that we have a lot of great coaches in this community, and I believe what she's referring to is the OP coaches and the OP influence on the school program. My question is, where is the money going to be coming from to be paying these professional coaches and Ohio Premier? I do not believe that, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe that Club Ohio has been asked for this. As for a point of their fields, I believe that with the middle school fields, the fields at the middle schools, the fields at the elementaries, the fields at the high schools are already utilized by Dublin Soccer League. They're already utilized by the middle tier Dublin United and clubs as well. There are no new fields. We are not, there are no new fields being built. These fields are already in use. We are already using these fields. I believe that this service will take away a lot of Dublin Soccer League representatives, and they will be going to the middle school programs and the school. It's not even middle school, it's U9, so we're talking elementary school all the way up to U14. They're going to leave Dublin Soccer League, they're going to join this program. Again, reiterating what Carrie said, this is a duplication of services. We already have all of these services. I don't understand why we need new services in place when what we have is thriving and doing very well. As far as the risk management, totally in agreement with that. I do believe that the Dublin Soccer Board, the Board of Directors, they are in favor of removing the clubs from their board for a vote. My only question with that is if Dublin Soccer League has absolutely no agreements with the clubs, yet they are still supposed to provide all relevant representation required to accommodate and legitimize the organizations, including player carding permitted by Dublin or Dublin's designee for desired league play, will provide field scheduling, field preparation, and equipment needed in this agreement. They're also supposed to line the fields, and they're supposed to schedule the fields. They're providing a lot of administrative features, yet they have no ties with the clubs. So are they supposed to be doing this for free to the clubs, or are we getting is Dublin Soccer League going to be getting a fee for their administrative services? I am concerned about that. If they do not have a contract with them, prior to this, they had a contract with them, they were getting paid for their services. If there is no contract, what is the Dublin Soccer League going to get, if anything, for all the services that they provide for the clubs? The other one I would like to address is they were talking about a high level, no cut. Well, if it's high level soccer that they want for middle tier, and that's also no cut, there's no such thing. If it's no cut, it's no cut. There is no high level. The only way to get a high level is to have tryouts and to have cuts. The other thing they're talking about is limited travel. I would ask, what league are we playing in? If it is Mosul, they're going to be traveling over an hour away to get their games in during week times. I ask that this be separated in two separate measures, risk management being one vote, and the new proposal being the schools, the city schools, at another vote. And I further ask that the second proposal please be tabled to further discussion so that we can figure out exactly all the questions, the logistics, where they're going to be traveling, the cost of the program, is it really cost effective, and is it really needed? It's reinventing the wheel. It's already been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, before I call the next name, could you answer the question regarding,
Sure.
No, I'm asking Matt.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Thank
I
you.
thought you said Nat.
Thanks, that's okay. The comment she made regarding administrative services and if there's no agreement and so forth, did you understand that?
I did. There is current language in those agreements with the clubs that does include an administrative fee associated with those services, and I would expect that those kinds of fees would still be applying to the
I think her
situation.
question was if there's no agreement, if I understood it correctly. Is that correct? My understanding, for example, with Dublin United, there's currently not an agreement. Is that correct? I
Well,
don't know if
Dublin
that
Soccer League would still be doing the administrative services for those things, but it's the goal and the hope that these club organizations will work directly with the schools within the current agreement that we have with the schools for their continuing education program, and with such, those fees could be transferred over to Dublin Soccer League for those services. I think it's a formality. It doesn't indicate whether they do or they do not charge for those services in the current language of the agreement, but we could solidify that.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Jason Burton.
Good evening. My name is Jason Burton, 3622 Night Spring Court, Hilliard. I coach two teams in Dublin United, a U11 and a U9 boys team. I'm in my third year with the U11 team. And on behalf of both teams, the parents, which encompasses 24 children, we are 100% opposed to that portion of the resolution which creates another middle tier organization. We feel that Dublin United in itself is the best tool and best mechanism for middle tier soccer. By creating another one under this resolution, it will only cause confusion with parents in terms of the best route for their children. This past year, on my older son's team, the U11 team, which has been together intact for 3 years, we finally won a couple tournaments. Many of these kids will not go on to play advanced soccer. So this is a highlight for them. And again, that's why we feel Dublin United fulfills the role of middle tier in that triangle that was up earlier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, I'm really confused about what I'm hearing, so before we hear the other 96 people, can I ask you, I thought we severed ties with Dublin United last year.
The agreement with Dublin United was severed between the Dublin Soccer League and Dublin United. Their nonprofit status changed last year, which did not qualify them for that agreement. So therefore, those formal arrangements have been severed. It was understood, though, that recognizing the number of kids that were playing for their program, the city is currently permitting use of the fields and allowing them to use those fields, but they are paying for those fields as per the fee ordinance.
But they're not under the umbrella of Dublin Soccer?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I apologize in advance for my pronunciation here. Juan Fawcett? Wayne, sorry.
It's your handwriting.
My handwriting.
I apologize.
No, that's fine. Thank you. My name is Wayne Fassett. I live at 6562 Weston Circle East here in Dublin. Mr. Mayor and City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've lived in Dublin since 2004. I've got 3 boys, a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and an 8-year-old. All 3 started in Timbits. They've all had the green jerseys that they take to Tim Hortons and turn up the jersey and says, you know, I just played soccer, I want the free drink, that I think is kind of a signature of DSL. They've all loved the sport, and as they've gotten older, they've realized that they wanted to play at a more competitive level. They wanted to play more soccer. So the next level that they went to was Dublin United. It has worked for 3 years, 4 years, very well for us. It was limited travel. Old and Tangi, Worthington, Westerville, all very close to us. Many games here in Dublin, which has been a great thing. We've been able to play other Dublin teams. So limited travel, we've already had that. The cost has been great. We know that all the money that goes in goes to what's for the kids. We're not paying the salaries of anyone. We pay for referees, minimal administrative costs. And as a parent, to know that most of the money goes back into the product that the kids get, it's not going to the coaches or any others, I really appreciate that and the chance for them to play in Dublin. So all 3 have played in Dublin United, and then my oldest one really likes soccer. He's dedicated himself, and in the past year made one of the OP teams for U12, and he's really enjoying that. So I've been able to see and experience all 3 levels of soccer, and all 3 levels work well because they've all created a place. In my mind, I don't see a need to create another middle tier offering. I don't know how it could offer something that Dublin United isn't able to. I also wonder, with this amendment that I respectfully ask to be tabled, it doesn't have any details on what would happen and how the clubs and the elite teams, what structure they would have, who they would report to, how any of that would be organized. It just takes out. It doesn't flesh out the whole picture. It doesn't tell us what that's about. As a parent, as a coach, as a board member of Dublin United, I completely support the risk management, the broadening of the risk management to anybody that's involved with soccer. As you've said, our kids are our #1 priority, and we need to make sure they're safe. So we completely support that, but we think that that should be pulled out of this amendment. It's too important to be part of this amendment, and it needs to be its own resolution. As far as the field, I want to reiterate what Natalie has said as a coach that scrambles to find places, green space for the kids to play. I've practiced in front of the rec center. I've practiced at schools. A lot of our green space is already used. So by turning this over to the schools, who are already busy enough with educating our kids and helping them do that, I don't see how it's going to create any more space. I don't see anything else being created. So again, I'd reiterate, if we could table this issue, I think it deserves more attention, more discussion, to see how it can serve all the kids. I certainly think that the 2,400 kids in the rec program deserve to have their time, but so do the other kids in Dublin. We have 96, in Dublin United, there are 96% of the kids are Dublin residents, and we think that they deserve the same, the equal access to the fields as anyone else. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
May I ask a question of Matt?
Sure.
Matt, it's my understanding that we approve this portion of it, and then also the DSL board has to approve it, correct, before it's
Actually, if I
even-
can take that, thank
Sure.
you. Yeah, as I said, in our previous agreement approved last July, it was a 3-year agreement, and and in that agreement, there's a provision that says it may be modified upon agreement of all the parties, which is Dublin City Council and Dublin Soccer League. So, like I said, this is just but one step. I mean, anything that council may or may not do tonight, if it is passed or tabled or whatever, ultimately it would have to go to the Dublin Soccer League for their approval also.
Thank you.
Next up, Red Reinhardt.
Hi, it's Rod Reinhardt. It's okay. I live at 6417 New Grange. Thanks for your time. I'm a Dublin parent and youth coach, speaking in support of Dublin United. My family has participated in pretty much all the Dublin United or Dublin soccer programs. DSL, I think 8 years between 2 kids. My oldest is in OP now. They've played, done locker soccer camps, and I know now he's involved with Club Ohio. They're all good. It's a little convoluted the way it is now, but I think it's working. More confusing is not what we need, I don't think. Like I say, we've been happy with all of our Dublin soccer experiences, but most of all Dublin United. So I'm going to give you my take on it. This is our 4th year as a family, 2nd child. I've been an assistant coach, I've been the head coach, I've been just a parent, and they've all been very positive for us as a family and my kids. The competition is great. The Dublin United people have also developed the Ohio Champions League, which is a middle tier soccer league. Mostly it's Olentangy, Dublin, Worthington, Northwest Columbus area. We've had great competition, middle tier, just in this area. For example, my daughter's team played 19 games in the fall, and I think we traveled a total of 3 hours outside of Dublin. New Grange to Cosgray not included, okay? And that was great, a great league, great competition for a good, competitive soccer player that wants a little bit more. The league is also divided into tiers. I mean, we could be A, B, and C in this league and still have good competition on different levels within that. Secondly, the coaching and officiating, I think, for the price is excellent. The coaches are dedicated volunteer parents. Dublin United is more than willing to help any coach that needs help. I'm not a true blue soccer guy, but they'll help me if I want it. And they give me many opportunities for that. The coaches help develop the teams with the parents and the kids. They get to play with their friends. Most of these friends, they met in DSL. And they're the DSL kids that want to have a little bit more. The officiating, the Dublin United board has a great network of officials, especially the games in Dublin. I mean, you get quality officials. They're teaching the kids the game and teaching the kids sportsmanship while they're playing. The value, I don't know what this new middle tier would cost, but I think $445 we paid. Get about 35 games, 40 plus practices. All my practices as a coach this year were at Dublin schools, by the way. You get some free, it's not free, included indoor training. Like I said, the excellent referees. The teaching that some of the refs do on the field is excellent. Really cool uniforms that the kids like. And of course, this is middle tier, and they're still kids. You got to have nice trophies. Those are included. The organization of Dublin United and the work ethic that is very apparent of the board. Dublin United is very much appreciated. They work tirelessly to keep the parents aware of what's going on and try to keep the experience great for the parents and the kids and the coaches. Like I say, they're willing to help us as coaches a lot. They're also constantly asking for feedback. We get at least, I know I get at least 2 questionnaires every season, one as a coach and one as a parent, surveys, and with many spaces for comments. What can we do to do better? And I know that they take that into account. I've been around it for 3.5 years now. I know they take that into account and they work to make their product better. That kind of leads me into my conclusion. Mr. Ehrman or nobody from Rec Services asked me as a middle tier parent how I feel about what I'm experiencing now. I'm sure that the list, email lists, address list for all the Dublin United parents is readily available. And I'd love to have told them, how happy I am. I know there's a lot of other Dublin parents that would have told them as well, or would have stood up here tonight, but nobody really knew about this until this afternoon. So it's my hope that council will table this, think about this, ask the Dublin United parents how they feel about how middle tier is in Dublin now, and I think you'll get the answer. Don't fix something that's not broken. Thanks.
Thank you. Sue Huttress.
Bookending this meeting, Sue Huttress, 7834 Silver Rose Court. I know you've heard a lot about Dublin United, so I'm going to kind of skip how great I think the organization is because I'm on the board. I've been a volunteer coach for the past 7 years. I've been on the board for 3 years. All 3 of my children have played or are still playing with Dublin United. Excuse me. I personally have volunteered hundreds of hours to Dublin United, but many have put in much more than I. I have invested a substantial amount of my time and energy into Dublin United because I believe that this organization has a lot to offer the Dublin community. I was very appreciative for what they offered my children and continue to hear its praises from parents of my team's players and others throughout the Dublin community. Volunteers have put countless hours into building this organization over the past 8 years, and I feel this proposal is an insult to all those volunteers who are Dublin residents that have worked so hard to grow Dublin United. Why were we not made aware of this proposal until today? Excuse me. Why would the City of Dublin put a program into place as a duplication of a volunteer organization already in existence? I have a lot of unanswered questions and would appreciate this proposal being tabled to allow any interested parties time for reviewing. Thank you very much for your time, and I do agree with the risk management portion to keeping our kids safe, because this is all about the kids. But I don't understand why we weren't contacted. I feel it's very insulting to all the people that have put in all these hours that we're finding out about this today. Excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Clinton.
Mayor, just a question. When you say you weren't contacted, are you speaking as a board member for Dublin United? Is that correct? I just was... Okay.
Okay.
They're not part of DSL. Is that correct?
That's correct.
They were part of DSL prior to the 501c3?
Right. That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Chris Clinton. Maybe Chris left. Tony LaFond.
Mayor, council members, thanks for the time.
Your name?
Oh, Tony LaFond, 2224 Cloverdale Court, Dublin school resident. My kids have played both. They came up through DSL, then moved up to mid-tier as it was needed, pretty much due to their development. Just to qualify myself, I've either played or coached soccer for probably close to 40 years now. I've seen different leagues, different organizations, some good, some bad. Both organizations, DSL, mid-tier, they're both outstanding organizations, serving what they serve, okay? There are two distinct differences between the two. One is pretty much a recreational league in the DSL. The other is a mid-tier league. Everybody's talking about, you know, this and that and that and this. The parent that's out there right now trying to find a place for their kid to play fall soccer or spring soccer really doesn't care. They just want a place for their kid to go play ball. They want their kid to get better at playing ball. They want their kid to have fun playing ball and to grow confidence in doing whatever it is they're doing. As a parent, I understand that. I'm sure you all have had kids and whatever go through systems also. Like I said, each program is right in its own right. The difference with soccer, from my perspective, is if the kids are playing a game and the kid can't get to the ball to play, is that fair to the kid? I mean, if you're trying to incorporate with your middle school model, you're trying to group them all too much together, and then you're separating your... What I didn't like a whole lot about your model is my daughter went up to mid-tier, came back to rec, and then went back up to mid-tier. She wasn't quite ready the first time. Your model separates that rec totally from the mid-tier and the thing, so it wouldn't have been an option for her. My other dilemma is right now I have a 13-year-old daughter at Davis Middle School. Okay, I coach her team. I've been coaching it for a couple years now. Age 9, 10, 11, fine. You get into the 12, 13 age bracket by trying to incorporate another middle school sport in here. The only way my team is able to function, play, and enjoy the game is by the flexibility we have with the Dublin United League. I couldn't accomplish what we do with any other league. I have players from 5 different schools playing at least 8 to 9 different sports, everything from cross-country, middle school sports, volleyball. In the fall, you have the lacrosse, you have track, you have softball. Now, you're trying to find room for these kids to grow as people and to achieve and find what they really want to do. But when you're going to start putting another table, completely structured thing together where they're going to have to pick and choose, now they're going to have, if you're going to do your soccer league in the fall, you already have your club volleyball, did you say, Ms. Grimes? Yes. Okay, so you have now club volleyball, you have regular volleyball, you have cross-country, and now a dedicated time when the kids are going to have to play soccer. They're not going to be able to do it all. They're going to have to start picking and choosing. And from my perspective, to have a 6th, 7th, 8th grader have to pick and choose at that level is just wrong. Let the kids go out and enjoy themselves. With the model that the Dublin United Soccer League has, as coaches, we schedule our own games. We schedule them on the nights when we can play and when we have team players that can play. When I go to make out my fall schedule or spring schedule, I have all the middle school sports. I know exactly, I've talked to the athletic directors. I know when the other activities are, and I have that flexibility to schedule around everything. You're not going to find that in another league. You're going to deprive kids of being able to play ball is what it's going to come down to. And, you know, sometimes this gets all wrapped up in, you know, field. And remember, it's about the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, could you answer the gentleman's question about, to the extent you understand it or this model is being developed, the opportunity for somebody to go from recreational to middle tier to back to recreational?
Yeah, the model that was presented was more of an illustration of the structure that would change. Currently, the Dublin Soccer League board consists of each of the respective clubs as a member, a voting member of that board. That was more of an illustration that recreation, Dublin Soccer League and the recreation component would be structured with solely eligible board members from that recreation league. Therefore, they would not be in the business of working with the clubs to make sure that, you know, certain programs were working in regards to what the clubs wanted to do versus what that rec component was wanting to do. It was completely separating the programs, is all it was. There would still be the ability for someone to go from any different of those programs. And I think what is slightly getting off track here is that the Dublin United Middle Tier program is a successful program. It's got some very good points, and it's got some things and challenges just like every other organization. I've heard a lot of good things about the organizations. I've received complaints about the organization, just as we do almost for every service that's provided. And what we're trying to bring forward here is not something that will replace an existing program. It is recognizing the school's interest to create a middle-tier soccer program as part of its community education program, and we feel as though that is a good component, a value to the community that will add an additional service, and there will be additional fields made available. Currently, there are no games being played consistently on Dublin school fields. They don't use their middle school stadiums nor their high school stadiums, and I think what the schools are looking forward to doing is opening up those resources to this program, and I think it would be beneficial to the entire community, not just one organization.
I appreciate that explanation, but just so that I understand, as you understand it, there would be no reason why an individual couldn't go, a child could not go from recreation to middle tier in this middle school system and back to recreation.
Both of those programs are required to accept any level of play for any player that would be eligible to play. So there is nothing in place that would stop them from moving back and forth. No.
And Matt, if I may, these are not going to be school teams per se, in that, or are they? For example, is it going to be the Sells Middle School soccer team? Like we have
this isn't
Sales
interscholastic
Middle School?
play
Okay.
by any means, no.
So this is still similar to what we've seen, it's just administered by the schools as part of the community education program, not as part of their interscholastic.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
By any chance, did Chris Clinton come back in the room? Okay. Moving on, Jim Sanders, I'm sorry.
My name is Jim Sanders. I live at 8080 Townsend Road here in Dublin. Thank you for allowing me to come up here. I'm not going to bore you. I agree with everything they've been telling you. I have 4 kids that have come through the Dublin soccer plethora of organizations. I guess my confusion here, my concern is I have 2 questions, and one of them Mr. Reinhardt earlier kind of asked, and I'm just going to point blank ask. How was this perceived need identified? Nobody asked me. I've got 4 kids in the Dublin school system, and we've played in all organizations of Dublin soccer. Nobody asked me. And I'm a parent. I feel like I should have a right to know what my school's doing and what's going on. I just don't see the need for this. I think it's, again, it's a duplication. I'd like to see how this was identified. If you did market research, I want to see the data. Secondly, I question the intelligence of anybody identifying Mosul as a middle tier league to put kids in to play soccer. Kids that, I've had kids playing Mosul, believe me, elbows, bloody noses, tripping, and those aren't fouls, folks. So if we're going to pull a kid that's playing DSL and is not used to contact, the Dublin United middle tier, the contact is middle tier between Mosul and between DSL. So I've had 2 kids play. Believe me, my daughter come home bruises, bloody lips, you name it. She broke a tooth. And those weren't fouls, folks. Those were just hard hits. So I question the intelligence of using Mosul as a middle tier. Thank you.
Matt, can you address his latter comments regarding, it sounds like concern regarding physical safety?
I don't know of any reports out there that have labeled any play in Mosul to be to the extent of violent or injuries above and beyond what would be acceptable at any competitive level. Certainly the level of play is heightened at the very high end of Mosul, but Mosul is structured in that they have multiple levels of play within. So they schedule teams to primarily play with those various levels so that they're not, you don't have like a D-level team playing against an A-level team competing at that level. So Mosul does have a structure. Is it perfect? No, but I am not aware of any reports that indicate Mosul is a violent or unacceptable way of sportsmanship.
Lori Mullins.
Good evening. My name's Lori Mullins, and I reside at 7758 Ketzel Drive in Dublin. I came tonight with some concerns, and a lot of coaches and friends that I've developed through the Dublin United organization are here. They've already said many of the things that I came with 2 pages of notes, so I won't go back through what Rod Reinhardt and Wayne Fassett have said. Natalie and even Carrie from DSL have expressed a lot of concerns. My main concern before I knew what everyone else was going to say was that, one, this could take away a program that has been great for my family. I have a son who's played 9 seasons with Dublin United after he was developing his skills, starting as a 4-year-old in DSL, had a great time, wanted to do it some more. My daughter wanted to follow along the same path when she saw how much fun it was, and she saw that he could develop his skills faster by doing something twice a week rather than 1 practice, 1 game. So for my family, it's been perfect. Just the right amount of travel, just the right amount of time commitment. This allows my kids to have a lot of other interests. We know we have a ton of choices for them in Dublin. They can play DYA, they can go to a dance class, they can do anything they want. The sky's the limit in Dublin. So I would hate for a program that has worked so well to be replaced by something else. Dublin United's working, it's not broken. I see the way that a club volleyball program fits in. There isn't anything between DYA volleyball and a club level volleyball, which is a junior Olympic sport. There's nothing in between. Perfect for that. I see that the community education program fits a lot of needs for a one-time program to pique your interest in cooking or training your dog. I don't see it as a place where we would want our schools involved with a club organization for soccer. So I came with many concerns. People have already told you why Dublin United is so great. I know how long Dublin United has been working to develop and tweak their organization. As Rod mentioned, they ask for parent and coach involvement and suggestions all the time. I just wonder how the school's community education program could start this so quickly. All soccer organizations in Central Ohio have a sign-up time in May. So whether that's for signing up for your rec program, deciding if you want to go to a tryout, or deciding if you want to put your child in a middle tier where you're learning about coaches, learning about teams, trying to find out how long they're going to, or how far they'll travel, that type of things. So that's a 3-month time frame to get this going. I think that a lot more time would need to be taken. If this really was the best thing, maybe it's a 2014 issue. I don't think at all it's a fall 2013 issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question of Matt?
Yes.
Matt, does this program that you're suggesting eliminate Dublin United?
No.
So Dublin United can continue to exist, they'll continue to have field space in so much as
Exactly
they have
the way they
Dublin
currently
kids
are today.
playing. So if Dublin United is the organization that is so wonderful that everybody likes, we're not taking that away, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like it's going away.
There is no intention for it to go away. It is, this is not a replacement of an existing organization. This is an enhancement to the existing partnership we have with the schools, and certainly they're coming to the table with the ability for us to use their fields, or at least for their program to use their fields. And those kinds of values, I think, are an issue today with the field capacity constraints that we have. So those were certainly some of those components. But the Dublin United organization, without its 501c3 nonprofit status, for Dublin Soccer League to acknowledge them as a recognized proponent of their organization and for the city to provide them subsidized fields, they would have to have that status intact, but they do not.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
On that, Tim?
Sure.
You mentioned their 501c3 status, and I'm aware they lost that. Have they made any efforts to remedy that situation?
I don't know that I can speak specific to the organization, but Mr. Ken McMahon's here from that organization if you'd like for him to answer it.
Okay.
He's on our list, Rick.
Okay. Well, I'm still...
We're getting closer.
Okay.
Which list?
Okay. Okay. Ryan Bunner, thank you.
Hello, Ryan Bunner, 2468 Sonnington Drive, Dublin. I coach a W United team. I also coach a Club Ohio team, and I have a 5-year-old who'll be in DSL in the fall. So I'm very knowledgeable in all 3 levels. The biggest thing I just want to mention is that I currently have a team, 11 boys in Mosul. Mosul is predominantly a select level league. So I just think you guys need to look at this and research whether this program would be best fit in Mosul. You will have rec level teams playing in Mosul and getting slaughtered. That's tiered A, B, C, and D. As you are, the worse you are, the less competitive you are, you go down to that lower letter. You then travel more. So you will push those kids who are in the Dublin system to be traveling further around Franklin County for their games. So that's a big concern. It also, you're kind of fighting over the same resources of kids, and I think you're just kind of diluting that. I just don't think it's necessary. Because most of the other thing you might do is if this dilutes the middle tier, weakens it to the point where people will either be pushed to have to put their kids up in the upper tier and pay that higher amount, or they'll move out of the community. They'll go to Crew, Worthington United, other places around it, and we'll start to kind of push them out of the community, and we'll weaken kind of one of our assets, which is a very soccer-rich community. So that's just my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, could you address his point about, you know, these different levels and so forth? Again, Amy asked a question regarding, you know, whether what is being proposed here results in the elimination of Dublin United, and what you've told us is no. So tell us if you know about the level at which they would compete. I mean, assuming the continued existence of the organization, the Dublin United organization, where will their competition come from?
I can't really speak to all of the details in preparation for what the schools are working towards exactly, but I know that the preliminary conversations were that they were going to compete in the Mosul League, and where they're placed in that league really does depend on the level of play for each of those teams. So I can't really speak to any other options out there that the schools are exploring, if any, so that's really to the extent that I can answer your question.
Okay, thank you. Tracy Owens?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Tracy Owens, 6008 Trafalgar Lane. Just 2 things to add on to the things that have been said already. One, the field use is limited. I have been a coach in the Dublin Soccer League for 5 years, and this is my first year coaching in Dublin United. Love the Dublin Soccer League. The job that Nancy and the team does there is fantastic. And it's great for what it is. You know, 8 games on Saturdays in the fall, 7 games on Saturdays in the spring. When we practice, though, it's hard to find a place to practice. We practice at the field near the Dancing Hares, usually at the beginning of the season. It gets a little swampy after the rain, too, but it's difficult to find a place to practice. The other thing I would mention, though, it goes a little bit to the price difference between the leagues that was brought up by the schools earlier. All the coaches in Dublin United are, in 2013, required to have a coaching license. Last summer, I went and took a license class. The cost of that class is reimbursed by the league. I mentioned that I still coach in Dublin Soccer League as well, so I'm able to use the skills that I now have. I'm a better coach now than I was a year ago or 5 years ago because of having gone through that instruction. Concussion prevention and identification, as well as lesson planning for soccer, too. So I think it's a great asset being a volunteer and being able to be encouraged, if not required, to get a license to be a better coach. Thank you very much.
Could I clarify something?
Please.
Your last comment, encouraged but not required.
No, if not required. It has been encouraged up to this point. This is the first year when it's officially a requirement of all the coaches in Dublin United to be licensed. I'm licensed at the E level. We'll take, the level goes up as you coach older players.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Thank
required.
You. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Kim and Tad Schilling, you're both signed up.
Hi, I'm Tad Schilling, 4920 Galway Drive, Dublin. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Thank you for allowing us to speak. In 2005, I got involved in Dublin Middle Tier. I was approached as a result of the DSL choosing not to support Goisel, and I was required, or the Goisel to continue to exist in the city of Dublin was required to establish a board. I am the president of that board, and I've been the president of the Dublin Middle Tier Soccer Organization, which has more recently become Dublin United Soccer Club. And I chose to get involved because my daughter, who only spent one season actually in the Dublin or in the Goisel community, got a chance to wanted to see the program continue on and wanted not to allow it to fade away. Over the past several years, we've continued to grow and expand. As has been mentioned, there's been countless hours, volunteer hours put together by the board, several board member changes, continually making improvements. I just wanted to recognize that we understand that this is all about the kids and the residents of the city of Dublin to provide a good middle tier program for their children. We realized this was a deficiency and having to make a jump between DSL and the club programs, and the concern about our children and their parents wanting to go to other clubs or other out of community areas. So I want to just follow up as far as the cost of the program. Very effective cost, very competitive, as you've heard from many of the parent coaches and the parents interested. I wanted to also just follow up that, again, I think that we should definitely table this and have it discussed more thoroughly. As was mentioned several times, we just found out about this morning, and we'd like to continue on to work through this program and exist in the city of Dublin. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Proctor.
Hi, I'm Joe Proctor. I live at 4857 Avondale Ridge Drive in Dublin. I've been around soccer my whole life. Played growing up, one of the few people my age that probably grew up playing. But more recently, I've been in Dublin about 14 years, and I have 5 children. I'm familiar with soccer at the rec level, at the middle tier level, and certainly at the club or elite level that was described today. So my interest is clearly as a board member of Dublin United right now, but at the same time, I think I can speak credibly about all those levels. So I just want to address, I won't reiterate what's already been said, but a couple of points that have been made that I just want to clarify. So this point about value, as a parent, I can say rec is something that costs in the vicinity of $100. I don't know the precise number, but we have children that have played at the rec level, all of my children at one point or another. Dublin United is $445, all in total cost, inclusive of uniforms. And I can tell you as a parent who has 2 kids now in OP, the cost for one of them is about $2,000. So there is a very large price range here. What we are delivering as Dublin United, and I'm very proud of, I've been involved in it for the last 4 years. First, as a parent, secondly, as a coach, and then third, later, as a board member, more recently. And while I love soccer, I think what everyone here has said, and there will be a continuous stream of people that will speak on behalf, this is a redundant service. And if you go and read the language that's included, and I just want to read one line as an example, all coaches within DSL are directed to encourage the participation of their players in Dublin City Schools' interclassic sports programs. No coach shall interfere in any manner with any child's participation in a Dublin Schools interclassic sports. So we're talking about a potentially very redundant service that is a direct competitor to what Dublin United is offering. And what you've heard are parents and coaches, board members that are all volunteers that are putting a terrific program out there that all of these members, all of these kids are growing from. So I've had the luxury of having kids be in DSL, move up to Dublin United. I've had the luxury of coaching my son until the most recent year, and he has moved up to play at the OP level. And I'm very proud of that accomplishment as a coach and of him as a son in that accomplishment. I think it would be a travesty to put something else out there. We already talked about the fact that there are 4 entities that we're talking about, and now we're talking about creating a 5th that is directly competitive. I'm sure if the clubs were speaking, they would talk about they wish there was only one competitive option at that level, at the elite level. I think at the middle tier level, there's something that is working. It's working terribly well. It has been since 2005. It's continued to grow. So I ask you to please make sure you're getting full information before making any decisions on this. There is a lot at stake, and I ask you to table this and please collect more information.
Thank you. Tim McMahon.
Ken McMahon, 5998 Rings Road in Dublin. Mayor, City Council, thank you for the opportunity to get before you again. I think, Richard, I think you're the only new face for me. I think the rest of you have seen me before. I've been the director of Dublin United since we started, and I'm an easy guy to like. All you have to do is ask any of the club guys, and they'll tell you. You can ask Matt, and he can tell you that at certain times, my organization, by our very nature, we do things that aren't necessarily what the elite clubs wanted, and maybe they're not what the DSL necessarily wanted either. As I mentioned, I do surveys a lot. I worked for IBM for 27 years, and that's what we did. We would go and we'd sell a customer something, and we'd ask them what we just sold them, whether they were happy with it, so we could sell them more. So we basically incorporated that philosophy into what Dublin United does. So really what comes down to here in my mind is that a couple of the coaches mentioned the sister teams idea. And the whole problem that I have with adding another organization is that we may lose some of our sister teams. We may get a couple of folks going to the schools program, and they'll play in Mosul. Then we may have some of the others in Dublin United that will play for Dublin United in the Ohio Champions League, but they won't be playing against each other. And as has been mentioned before, what happens in Mosul at the high levels, at the A level, you have mostly the big clubs, the OP Eagles, the Club Ohios, the Classics Eagles, the ones that everyone who knows the Blast, everyone who knows the Columbus area knows who those big clubs are. That's where the A teams play. They're all in the outer belt. The weaker teams, the C and D level teams, are typically the Zanesvilles, the Newarks, the Chillicothys, the Bobcat Soccer Club out of Ohio University. That's where the lower level, because they have a smaller pool of players to pull from, they can't pull a good, strong group of kids. So consequently, they play in the C and D division of Mosul. That's where these kids would be proposing to play. Ohio Champions League and Dublin United teams, we, for the most part, as has been said, we play pretty locally. So I think that that would be a disadvantage, that we may have 2 teams at the U8 on the boys' side, at the U8 age group, and this new program, or at the U9 side, and then the new school program would have 2 also. But what it would amount to is everyone would have to travel a little bit more rather than having one single program. And then when you add to that the DSX program, which is part of the DSL now, that is yet another middle tier program. If you're a parent, I understand soccer pretty well. I can't possibly know what DSX, DSL Plus, the school program, Dublin United, Club Ohio, Locker Soccer, we get so many that it's impossible for people to understand. I can understand completely why Mary Ann Grimes would want the middle tier program. That's what we do. The only thing, in fact, when one of the coaches approached me a couple of years ago about it, they said, well, we think we want to start a middle tier program for soccer in Dublin. I said, that's a great idea, but we did it in 2005. We were literally put in place to be in the middle, not the $1,500. And I see the volleyball program, I think it's a great idea. My friend has a couple kids playing volleyball, $900, $1,200, $1,500. They have a $275 program. Obviously it's a lower level. It's not for the kid who's getting ready to play high school volleyball, but it's a fit. That's what Dublin United does. On the topic of 501c3, we did lose our 501c3. We had a treasurer who was filling out the wrong tax form. I don't want to tell you how many hours that I've spent, but it's over 500 that I have spent getting our 501c3 restored. We just got word back from the IRS a couple of weeks ago that they have 300,000 organizations that were 501c3s who lost their status. Very similar to what happened to us. So we're in a queue. We're working through the status. We'll be there. We have no reason to believe that we won't make it through and get our 501c3 restored. Truth of the matter is that was why we lost our agreement with the city to begin with. And that was the only reason, to my knowledge, that we lost our agreement with the city. So we're on our path to get that restored, Michael, as you had asked the question. I'm confident that we're going to get it. OYAA lost theirs, the entire organization. That's the equivalent of like DYA plus DSL lost theirs a few years ago. Took them about 14 months to get it back. We're following exactly the same path that they're following, having an accounting firm that has power of attorney, that working directly with the IRS, just giving us updates. So that's really about the only thing that I have to say, other than the fact that I want to thank all the Dublin United folks who came. We literally sent the email out this morning to our 400+ families, and we had probably 15 of them show up tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Greg Wenger.
I'm Greg Wenger, 5687 Lismore Court, Dublin. And thank you again, Mr. Mayor and the council, for allowing myself and all that have been here tonight to speak, and I certainly support what has been said. I really want to, after hearing some comments and starting to understand, I think, a little bit more of what's been proposed and the setup that's here, really want to support what's been in place already. I have coached within DSL for a number of years and then coached with Dublin United the last 2 years, and enjoyed both programs immensely. I really support the Dublin United as a middle tier program, and it does sound to me like there is some competition between really both Dublin United and DSL for this middle tier slot, as it's being called, even though there aren't cuts, so it'll compete on both levels. But the Dublin United setup is a coach select program, so it is up to the coach's discretion to understand the skill levels of the players and gather a team together. The benefit of that is that you will have a similar team year to year. You can develop the players year after year, get to know their personalities and their skill sets, and the players have a chance to do the same. So on a coach's level, I've appreciated those things, and I can choose my co-coach, and we get along, and that helps the players. As a parent, I've certainly enjoyed the fact that I have known a number of the parents, and most of the parents know each other and connect already, as do the kids. But what I really appreciate more than anything is the sense of togetherness that comes in supporting each other as a result of it being this way, that the kids know and play with their friends. I've also been a part of a city team where there are tryouts, and it's been a decent experience, but there's more of a sense of competition, I feel like, between the players than a sense of teamwork. And as the kids get older, I appreciate that environment, say middle, high school, and above. But for elementary school particularly, I've seen the benefit of Dublin United and them playing with their friends. Having good players that are also their friends is a huge motivation for the young players to play and keep having fun. And ultimately, that is what I want my kids to do by the time they get to middle school, is have enjoyed the experience and feel like it's fun and not think back so much on the pressure or competition that comes with the tryouts. And along these lines, I would also like to request that the council tables this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call for Chris Clinton. All right. Ms. Grimes, I wonder if you'd come up to this podium right here, please. I have a few questions for you, and we might ask Matt a few questions, and I'm sure other council members will have questions and comments. I just want to say at the outset that I personally have experienced all three levels of play with my children here in Dublin. You might guess that I don't have school-age children anymore, but other council members, I think, have experienced different levels of participation in the Dublin soccer program as well. I even went so far as to have obtained my lowest level referee certification. I emphasize lowest level, and I'm sure it's expired until now. But needless to say, all three levels, different experiences with my different children, and just ran the gamut. The Goisel participation, participated in OP, and so forth. Having said that, several points of clarification, I hope. But first of all, for you, Ms. Grimes, the Dublin United coaches, I think you've heard people express affinity, for their coaches and so forth. As the program is envisioned, is there any reason why these coaches couldn't continue to participate as coaches in the program administered by the Dublin City Schools?
Sure, that'd be fine. And I mean, we'll have co-directors that's going to run the Dublin schools. I mean, I'm just the community ed coordinator, so I look for other expertise that's in the field of soccer. I'm not a soccer coach. I'm a basketball coach. So with that, I will refer to some of the great soccer coaches that we have in our high schools and, in the surrounding area. But anyone who wants to be a part of the Dublin City Schools and wants to coach within that, by all means, we will extend that out there if they would like to be a part of that.
Have you given any consideration to the requirement that folks maintain a coaching license or yes?
They would follow all those, as well as the Dublin City Schools goes through. They have to have an FBI background check. They all have to be fingerprinted within the Dublin City Schools, and they have to be board approved.
And one of the questions that was asked was with respect to the funding to pay the expenses of assuming this program. Can you speak to that?
I can't really to give you any guidelines of all those funds and how that's going to be broken down.
How about the opportunity to simultaneously play multiple sports? I think that you may have heard the comment that the one gentleman spoke to, he has the schedule and, somebody can participate in cross country, at the interscholastic level and, still play this level of soccer.
Correct. We are not going to take any of the students that, all of our middle school kids are so excited and they do everything that they can possibly do in middle school. As being in middle school 1 year of my 35-year teaching career. If they have track meet, they play softball, they do whatever. They can't make a scheduled practice, that's fine. If we're running our games on Sunday afternoons or whatever that format is going to be, there's no penalty for them not going to a practice. There's no, so we want them to still participate in their middle school activities within the school system.
And my last question at this point in time is what you believe to be the school's ability to make this transition.
I mean, I think that it should be, a smooth transition to do that with all the entities that are in place of, the middle school students and, the fields that we all have and, the cost effectiveness that we're going to make that, because there is no charge from the school standpoint to use all the fields and things. So I think it'll be very cost effective. Without going into any major detail of the effectiveness of it, but yet, expertise coaching and as well as partnering with an elite program.
And what about the ability of these children to be able to continue to play together in spite of the fact that they may not otherwise attend the same school?
As far as like a Grizel middle school team?
No, not so much a team, but it's my understanding that there may be children presently who do not necessarily attend the same school, but they're on the same team.
Right. That shouldn't be a problem. I mean, there's no middle schools is not recognized by Ohio High School, and so then therefore, car students can't have. If you got 15 boys who want to be on a 7th grade team or whatever the age group might be, they're not going to have car uniforms. It can't be car uniform, Sal's uniform. It cannot be depicted by each individual middle school. So if if there are friends from Sells and from Carr and from Grizel or Davis that all want to be together on the same team with their friends, within the guidelines of breaking down as to their skill development, this is A, Bs, and Cs and those things, then they could be on the same team.
But this is a community education thing. This isn't a school thing.
Correct.
So it's a little bit different in the formation and establishment of it.
Correct. So if 15 boys from the Sells area, let's just say, using that for an example, signing up through the community ed program, they could be in the same team.
Thank you. Other questions?
Yeah, I am curious how long the school district has been contemplating this, because it's
It's
sounding here like it's brand new, but I had heard something about this a while
it's not,
ago.
it's been something, sorry not to mean to cut you off. It's probably been over 2 years of countless hours and meetings and of working our way to getting into the realm of club activities and club sports. It'll be 3 years in August of being the community ed coordinator, and I think the 2.5 years I have spent more time dealing with the club, the soccer issues and developing that. So it's not just been something that just jumped out of a hat.
So you believe you're ready and to do this?
Yeah, we're making great strides. We've got some great things in place for the spring that lead into the fall.
And these are going to be volunteer coaches?
Volunteer coaches, correct.
Thank you.
And we're, Dublin residents, we're right here, we're talking about our school system.
Other questions?
Yeah, Tim. This is my 6th year on city council, and this is the first time I've had an opportunity or the pleasure to be involved in, serving as a soccer commissioner. The question I have for you is, how would you go? I still don't understand how you're going to go about making this transition. We've heard a lot of testimony tonight from people from and I'm not a soccer person. I don't know what I'm really talking about, and some of the words I use, I have no clue what they mean. But what I got out of it was there are 3 tiers, and what we're talking about here is this middle tier.
Yes.
And how are you going to go about making this transition? I've heard that you have some people in line, but it seems to me that we have a system here in Dublin already. And have you reached out to these other groups to coordinate how this transition will take place? Have you met with Mr. Ehrman quite a bit to talk about this transition? Have you met with some of these people in this room tonight to talk about this transition and how this will set up?
I have met with, Matt Ehrman numerous times. I have met with DSL board members from the past. I have had multiple meetings with OP, Ohio Premier, that we are working within the same realm of the DSL, the middle tier, and using the elite clubs as expertise coaches, expertise trainings, and trying to coordinate all these 3 things together. That supportive DSL, middle school tier, and the elite to provide expertise, coaching and training and all those fundamentals.
So you have sat down with some of these coaches and some of these board members and talked with them about this?
I've talked to board members from DSL, yes. I've talked to...
Folks, I think maybe there's a misunderstanding here.
There's 2 different
regarding
boards.
what board members we're talking
there's
about.
a DSL board and there's a Dublin United board, I think, is the issue.
And I'm sorry, let me
I have
clarify.
sat down with DSL board member, yes.
You know what? Let's keep some decorum here about this, okay? If you like, we'll let you speak again, okay?
I'm not just trying to get, I'm not trying to attack or anything, I'm just trying to get an understanding here. And I can see some council people are kind of looking at me like the word transition. And to me, transition means change. And so with that standpoint, and I'll use the word change instead of transition so it doesn't upset somebody up here. But with this change, have you discussed this with the DSL board members or DSL coaches?
My meetings have been with DSL board member Chris Northrup, Chris King, who is the representative from Ohio Premier, and I've had Mark Dotillo, the Kaufman girls soccer coach, and Josh Brader, the Drum girls soccer coach, as we have sat down since last spring making progress and headway in how we're going to transition into this.
Thank you.
One thing, where are the proponents for this, Matthew? Where's the DSL board members that are saying this is a good thing? Because regardless of what we do, it still has to go to DSL for final approval. So if this is really a good thing, all this change, we've got a lot of residents and constituents out here that are saying otherwise. Where's the other side of this other than our own staff?
Well, when they think it's good, they don't come in, Mike.
Really? When they think there's controversy, they all come in from both sides, is my experience. But
I can tell you there are members of the audience, if they choose to speak, they're certainly welcome to do so. I personally have had conversations with people in support of this that exist on the Dublin Soccer League board, with the exception of 2 that are here tonight.
Can I offer a comment, just my observation? And I've been listening to this for an hour and a half now. And, I mean, I agree with the city policy that we want to be in the recreation business. I mean, I get that, and I agree with that. And we have seen in many different areas with the schools where we've worked on a collaborative basis, and I think we have a policy in place to expand upon that. I think that's a great idea too. But, it's like a lot of things that we do in this community. We always try to bring all parties together and try to sort through the issues before it comes before this dais. And I've heard a lot of testimony tonight where, this is the first time people have heard about this, maybe hours ago, maybe a day or so ago, and it just strikes me as a little odd. It sounds like this might be a good program, but I think it might make more sense for everybody involved to sit down and talk about it, then come back and see us.
I have a different viewpoint. Surprise.
No doubt.
No doubt. I'm just like, to me, it's like, it's a little more black and white. We've said from way back when we wanted to be recreation. To me, schools equal sports. Cities need to be careful. And way back when, we've said we wanted our soccer program to be recreational, 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 then all this other things came in. The real thing that I hear tonight is that United, whatever, thinks they're going to be torn apart. And when kids go through a recreation program and they start getting like, well, I want more, there's all kinds of opportunities out there to make choices. There's, I don't know, Sports Ohio or whatever, to make choices. What I hear is kind of political, if you will. It's like, why aren't we letting them have more choices? If you want to develop kids, let them have choices. We're not taking away this particular organization. Let the kids have choices. Maybe they'd rather be with the school program, but we're not taking away from this. This alleviates the city of being involved in that kind of controversy that then we're just all in the rec center or in the recreation business. So I'm all for this recreational thing. I'm not sure what more discussion's going to get, if it's going to get us anywhere at this point. I want to thank the schools because as a taxpayer, thank you, because I'm paying out taxes to facilities that could be used more. And I think this combination of the city and the schools working together is a tremendous, tremendous outreach that's going to work well. But I heard nothing that said we were going to bother this United, Ohio, whatever I should have written, Dublin United. I don't understand where it's going to go. If we do this, what it's going to do is give Dublin only recreational. And then the kids, if they don't want that, have choices to make. And I thought that's what we were about, letting them have choices of where they're going. I hear it's going to be a direct competitor, and I'm thinking like, okay, I'm not sure what's wrong with that, to be a direct competitor. So for me, talking anymore, we've heard the same thing tonight, and I haven't seen anything that would make me change my mind about wanting to be a recreational supporter. And thank you again, Ms. Grimes, for your efforts. That's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Any other comments by council members?
I just wanted to acknowledge I had a phone conversation today with both Ms. Stearns and Ms. Scalini. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but we did have a conversation, and I, at that point, was thinking, yeah, you know, we probably should table this. I don't have enough information, but having listened to everything, I feel like I have a much better understanding, and I guess I find myself agreeing with Kathy. I don't know that tabling this is going to, you know, what I hear is a lot of fear of change and fear of, you know, something going away that is beloved by parents. And if in fact, you know, it's sort of a market-based thing, successful companies, successful organizations, be it, you know, name a volunteer organization, a group, the Kiwanis, the Optimists, whatever, any group that comes together to do something, if they're good at it and they do it in a cost-effective fashion, then they're going to continue to be successful. And so I don't see that if in fact Dublin United is everything that you all say, and I have no reason to doubt it. I've you know, been involved in soccer myself. I coached my kids when they were, you know, kindergartners all the way up to third, fourth grade when they got too good, and I started to be afraid of them kicking the ball at me. So, and they, you know, went on to play at the club level, my daughter did. So I feel like I know soccer, and I feel like I know what the city should be doing, and I want to, and I believe that the city should be involved in recreational programming, and that the other tiers are best left to the professionals. And I see our partnerships that we've had with the school district in the past have gone wonderfully well. As a community, we have a wonderful history of collaboration with the school district, and it's been nothing but good. And if in fact, you know, something changes and this new program for soccer doesn't work out, then I'm sure that they'll back off and they won't do it anymore, and you know, something else will come up, or Dublin United will grow, whatever. But I just don't see this as taking away. I see this as adding to, and also getting us focused on what we should be focused on, which is recreational soccer. And I also have a tremendous amount of respect and confidence in Matt Ehrman and his leadership. And so I'm confident that this is all going to be fine, and that Dublin United can continue to grow and flourish and work well.
Matt, I just want to clarify, just once again, that what's being proposed here will not result in the elimination of Dublin United, and in fact, that Dublin United may continue to exist essentially in its present form. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Either Ms. Delaney or Ms. Stearns, I assume you're of like mind.
Yeah, I would just like to clarify a few things. What she had said was correct. She has had.
Excuse me. She.
Oh,
Would she
I'm
be?
sorry. Mary Ann Grimes.
Thank you.
Sorry. She's had numerous conversations with the ex-chairman, Chris Northup. Chris Northup had to resign not too long ago because of everything that he has done on the board. He basically went on his own outside of DSL. Nothing was brought to the board. There were no
I'm
votes
sorry, I'm
taken.
really uncomfortable with this conversation because Chris isn't here.
Correct. What I'm saying is the Dublin Soccer League has no knowledge of this.
The 2 members here, the other 5 members, we don't know.
And we have, you guys the Dublin Soccer League has never had a discussion about this. It's never been brought to the board. It's not been brought to the board.
Okay.
So yes, she is correct. She had conversations with Chris.
Okay.
It was never brought to the board by Chris or by Matt.
But it is going to be brought to the board for a vote.
Correct.
And if it doesn't go forward because the board doesn't want to enter into that agreement, then it's going nowhere, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I believe so. So if the board votes this program down, then the schools don't get their program? Is that what we're saying?
I don't know what the.
Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yes?
It's required that
Yes?
they both approve, is my understanding.
Well, yeah, how this is being proposed, this is an amendment to the current agreement. The current agreement may be amended upon agreement of both parties. So if the City of Dublin Council were to enact this evening, it would have to go to the DSL board, who would then have to vote it one way or another. The provision specifically says mutual agreement of the parties. So if it doesn't happen, now, and I just want to clarify one thing, in the current agreement in place with DSL, the schools have already named as our preferred provider of this. So there's nothing to stop the schools from doing what the schools want to do. They have fields, they have access to the children, so, I mean, nothing can stop that if they choose to do so. And the City of Dublin and Dublin Soccer League have already recognized that the schools are the preferred provider. However, for the amendment of the agreement, as is being contemplated tonight, it requires 2 votes, both council and DSL.
One other point I would like to make is everybody keeps concerning themselves with, we're going to be using the school's fields, we're going to be using the school's fields. I have a daughter that's a senior at Kaufman. I have a son that's a freshman at Kaufman. They both went to Carr Middle School. They both played lacrosse, and as you know, boys sports get preference over girls sports. My daughter's lacrosse team quite frequently was not able to use the stadium because something else was going on in the stadium. So I ask you, if the schools cannot provide fields for middle school sports as it is, how are they going to provide fields for community sports? They don't have fields for the middle school sports. The high school doesn't have fields for the high school sports. Lots of JV teams can't play in the stadium because there just isn't enough time, because it's taken over by football or it's taken over by varsity, which I understand that, JV, okay, B teams. I don't know if JVB has ever gotten to play in the stadium.
I don't see that
Excuse
as
me,
really our.
I just have to react to one comment regarding male preference for the fields. As an attorney and understanding that there's a law called Title IX, is Ms. Grimes here?
All right, may not be male, but I'm just saying that certain
That would be a
sports,
serious
they
misstatement.
don't
and
have,
excuse me.
they
That
don't
would
have
be-
all
Excuse
fields.
me. Don't speak over one another. It's very difficult for the record. That would be illegal, to my understanding, if there was a preference for one gender over the other, okay? And I don't want to, suggest anybody bring a lawsuit, but, okay? Ms. Grimes, am I correct? You need to be at a microphone somewhere.
Yeah, you better get a microphone. Careful what you say.
The athletic directors are the ones who are responsible for scheduling their activities and their events on whatever the field that it is, okay? So if there's a girls lacrosse game, then that's on the athletic director to schedule that into the stadium or to wherever. I run all the scheduling for the community ed programs, and I run all the scheduling for our stadiums and all the things that we run. We've had soccer clinics, we have the club volleyball, for example. They're all going to be at Kaufman High School, and we have worked around the boys' schedule because the boys play spring volleyball. So there are certain people that are organizing and scheduling all the activities that take place. And I schedule all the community education. I will schedule all of the soccer. I will schedule all of the volleyball, boys and girls. The athletic directors specifically take care of all the facilities at each one of those high schools, middle school. That's on them. That's not my job.
Well, and the other thing is, if they do play in Mosul, you don't have self-scheduling. Mosul schedules those. They play on certain days and certain nights of the week. So, again, I'm questioning if the fields are even going to be available when Mosul schedules you to play. Therefore, if the schools aren't available, they'll play at Dari, which is currently what they're doing anyway. So if they do play in Mosul, Mosul does schedule those. They are, certain age groups are on certain nights.
Okay, thank you. Were there some other comments?
Just, this has always been an emotional subject, at least in my experience these many years.
Yes, it has.
We're missing 2 council people tonight, and I got to tell you, I feel that we don't have the whole story. You can call the vote or do what you want, but I'm not really sure what the numbers are. We have 5 council members. What does it take?
We need 4.
4.
4 votes.
Okay.
Well, just to get it going so we know somewhere, I move that we approve the staff recommendation this time. Mr. Attorney, is that what motion you need to have?
Well, really, there's a lot of different motions you can make, to be honest with you. You could move to table it, you could move to approve it, you could move to disapprove it, you could move to split it in 2 and just consider the background checks.
Well, at this point, so we can start moving somewhere, so we know what we need to tackle, I'm going to move that we approve this as it currently stands.
If it dies for lack of support, can you put it back on the floor?
Oh,
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Okay.
So I guess I'll ask if there's a second.
Second.
Ian, if you call for the vote?
Mr. Keenan?
No.
Mr. Gerber?
No.
Mayor Lucklider?
No.
Vice Mayor Salee?
Yes.
Mrs. Waring?
Yes.
I would move that we split the two proposals.
I'll second the motion.
The risk management from the other one?
Yeah, and if I may, the replaced resolution that's in front of you today has 4 sections down at the bottom, not the whereas clauses. Sections number 2 and 3 deal with the background checks. The first says the background checks for soccer specifically. The second, section number 3 deals with council encourage us to implement these citywide in all programs that involve minors. So I think what I'm hearing from you is you want to vote specifically on sections number 2 and 3 in the resolution, which is to split it up.
That's correct. Okay. Yes, and with that clarification. I also want to say that another motivation for making the motion that I have, giving Mike credit, is because 2 of our council members are not here, both of which I believe anticipated that the motion that I have made is the one that we would consider tonight, and not this other agreement, involving the schools and so forth. So I'm not suggesting that issue go away indefinitely. It will indeed come back, and then we'll see, what is the preference of council.
So what's the
So there's a
motion?
motion.
The motion is with respect to sections 2 and 3 of the resolution that was presented to us this evening.
And just to be clear, that still requires us to amend the agreement with Dublin Soccer League. So even if this is approved.
We understand that.
Okay.
That's absolutely imperative.
We get that.
Okay?
Okay, so if we split it, okay, and we vote on one, what do we do with the other then?
Well, the other is voted down, so the other would have to be brought back for your consideration
The whole
after.
thing has been voted down, right?
The whole thing has been voted down, but
Okay.
now you're asking, we want to enact half of this for all intents and purposes.
Can you bring another one to table this, to table the other part of it? He just split it.
Right.
The piece that we've talked about that's on the floor right now before vote, we can't table it now, it's already been defeated.
It's already been voted
Yeah.
down. That's
Okay.
correct.
Do a motion for reconsideration.
You could do a motion for reconsideration.
Robert's
I think that's the best way to do it, because then it brings it up where everybody can hear it.
Well, Tim
Is that-
made a motion, and
Yeah, let's call
I'll second your motion.
Okay?
I already did.
Oh, you already did?
Okay. Ian, if you call for the vote, please.
Mrs. Waring? This is just, Vice Mayor Salee? Mayor Lucklider?
Yes?
Mr. Gerber?
Yes.
Mr. Keenan?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if, we need to make this motion, but for purposes of the record, to reconsider the remaining sections of the proposed resolution at the next earliest opportunity? Is that?
I mean, he's our lawyer, but it's my understanding of Robert's Rules of Order, we'd have a motion to reconsider, we vote on that, then if there's another motion for a tabling, then that would follow that. Is that
Yes,
the way it goes?
right.
Well,
So you'd have
are you suggesting a motion for tabling?
No, first you have to reconsider.
You have to
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one's over.
I think this ensures that it comes back.
Yeah, you'd have to first have a motion to reconsider the prior votes.
Right.
We vote on that, and then some.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And then
Yes.
somebody would have to make a motion after that to move for a tabling.
Okay?
Then we'd vote on that.
So that's why I'm making that motion, to the extent you all understood it.
Right.
And is,
It is to reconsider the remaining sections of the proposed
Yeah,
resolution.
he
Yeah,
can. He can.
he's on the prevailing
He's on the
side.
prevailing side.
Yeah.
No, I thought you had to be on the negative side.
No,
Prevailing.
No.
prevailing
Yeah,
side.
Prevailing side.
Okay, gotcha.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Ian, if you call for the vote?
I need clarification.
All right, all you're voting on right now is to reconsider really the first part that you voted down. And then my understanding is the next step, they're going to vote to reconsider it, and then they're going to vote to table it, just to ensure that it comes back to council again in front of the full body with the public participation.
Okay.
Mr. Gerber?
Yes.
Mr. Keenan?
Yes.
Mrs. Waring? Mayor Lucklider?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Salee?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
then
you.
I'll make a motion that we table that portion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Ian, if you call for the vote?
Vice Mayor Salee.
Yes.
Mayor-elect Leiter.
Yes.
Mrs. Maureen. Mr. Keenan.
Yes.
And Mr. Gerber.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, there you have it.
Make sure that you get together with all the board members on DSL and explain what's going on, so that we have all the board members that can come here and address us.
I'll be glad to extend that message to the board again, as I
Thank
did
you.
last week at the last.
Did you say you had introduced that to the board? Have you told us that?
At the last board meeting I did last week, yes.
Pardon me? But all the board members were informed of this, right? That you were
Correct.
bringing it forward?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew.
thank you all very much.
All right.
I'm so afraid of competition.
Kevin,
We're
our
not done
meeting's
yet,
not
are we?
ended yet.
Yeah, we're not done. See you later. Yeah.
Have a good night, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you, sir.
Excuse me, folks, our meeting is not over yet. Thank you.
That doesn't mean you have to stay. It
Yeah,
just
you don't have to
means
stay.
we need
It's a
quiet.
good opportunity to make an exit. Only we can't,
Taking up 2 hours of it anyway. So.
but you're welcome to stay also. Marcia, do we have anything under other that you would like to discuss with us?
No, I have nothing else.
Okay, and any staff comments?
No.
No additional comments.
Okay,
Counsel?
thank you. Mike,
No.
roundtable.
Thank you, no. I've had
Rick?
enough.
Is this peer pressure night? I don't know if Dana's here, but I just wanted to comment that I enjoyed the economic development report that was prepared from both Dana and Colleen. And in that regard, I do have a question. If Colleen or Dana can come up.
Sure.
And it sounds like we're doing a lot of good things to bring what I call the business community in. And we have a couple of programs where we go out and reach out to them and so forth. And I was wondering if all of you have thought about maybe a couple other things as well. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I spoke to Dana about this with the Bridge Street corridor. What about maybe for lack of a better word, a soft task force comprised of some business leaders in the community to kind of get some of their inputs on the Bridge Street corridor, it's where it's going, so forth and so on, and get them to participate. Also, they might have a lot of good ideas. They themselves might want to participate, actually physically develop.
Right, yeah, certainly took that under advisement and brushed that issue by Terry. I don't know if I mentioned it. I may have mentioned it to Marcia in one of the meetings, so we're taking a look at how we might be able to do that. It's a good idea, so we'll take a look at that.
And also with that, I've been reading a lot about these community investment corps. And I know we're going to have an awful lot of investments coming up with Bridge Street corridor and also some other areas of town. And would just asking if, I don't know what the pros would be or the cons would be, but reading about them, it kind of intrigued me that it might be something we might want to consider.
Sure.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot tonight. I just wanted to kind of.
Well, we've had a study done on a CIC relative to some other possibilities, not particularly related to Bridge Street. This community has had CIC in the past, and we have some results of that. The purpose for which we were looking at it previously is not something that we were going to recommend going forward with council. It had to do with the Entrepreneurial Center, which we resolved that issue. So, however, the underlying study that was done was very helpful in the legal processes and so forth. So some of that's been kicked around as some of the thoughts regarding incentives and land purchasing and a lot of other items relative to investment by the city. So certainly have taken a look at that pretty hard off and on.
Yeah, and I'm no way suggesting that, hey, let's go out and do it.
Right.
I've been reading about them. There seems like there are some pros. It seems like there are some things that maybe aren't all that desirable, but,
right.
Always trying to think of ways that we can all be better.
And we have used, in the past, the cities had a CIC, and years ago, they were pretty active. And I think the last time we used them was probably in 1996 when we were dealing with some of the project related to the Cardinal development.
That's right, yeah, yeah. Okay, very fine. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Kathy?
Let's talk to her so we can't hear.
I had, well, Amy, since I talked to you about it, I talked to Amy and about some ideas about goal setting and wondered if I could throw them out to you all. And one thing I was thinking about, if we could design like an informal survey, not take a lot of time, but have questions on it, like what do you like or dislike about our goal setting sessions we've had? What would you think, how to improve it? What would you like to see happen? Subjects to cover, you know, and send this out to not only council members, but to Marcia, and then bring them back together, combine the ideas, give that back to council to look at, to see if we might want to change how we deal with goal setting. If, you know, if we want to look maybe at the past goals and just look at them and improve, expand, delete, or prioritizing them. And if we did not have anything to add, maybe we would want to go then into a workshop mode and discuss things like Rick brought up tonight, and, you know, have topics that we would want to discuss on, not necessarily goals, because I think we've all mentioned, if I've heard people right, that we're maturing, and right now we have this one big goal, and to place a whole lot of other things on the staff's plate would be, you know, maybe diluting what we want in the one goal. So I just thought I'd throw that out if you would be interested in something like that and having your opinions tabulated and getting that back to you all.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think Kathy's point was it would be a collaborative effort where the 7 of us talk about goal setting, and then Marcia also, from staff's perspective, you know, if you need something or you would, you know, feel like staff would benefit from something, and that way, you know, there's more input, because we are kind of at a crossroads with our goals and with our goal setting. I think maybe it's time to shake things up a little bit, and Kathy, I think, had a great idea in terms of collaborating.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. One thing I'd like to add to that, you know, for the last 5 years, we meet on Thursday night, then all day Friday, and you know, and that's fine with me if we continue that. But I'm just asking the question, and maybe that could be part of this poll. If you know, is there another way to do it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, over a couple of evenings. You know, sometimes maybe meeting 1 week, then okay, regrouping and getting back a couple of weeks later might be more constructive. I don't know.
And that's exactly why I wanted to put some of these questions down, is like, what did you like or dislike, and how would you like to change it, or how would you think it improves? I'm like, I think sometimes all-day thing is kind of good because we kind of connect with each other, but I'm thinking like, do we need a night and an all-day?
Yep.
Or, you know, maybe 2 nights in a row? But I think that's something that would be valuable for us to decide, to think about and talk about.
I'd like you to think about we talked at one point in the past about the charter. The city charter has not been looked at or updated in how many years? Many?
I think it was in 96.
And I thought there were some housekeeping things that we thought could, that might be worth at least to discuss. So maybe just put that in the back of your minds to see, and maybe hear from legal staff about, are there housekeeping issues that need to be looked at?
I think, yeah, over the years, we've had a couple. I can't keep only tonight.
Okay.
I'm not sure that that needs to be on goal setting. What I hear Mike saying, what I would like to hear, is that the legal come back with that ideas, because I thought we were supposed to look at it every so often. Doesn't that say it in there? So that if maybe legal would come back with a report.
That's fine. It could be a.
We did mention last time around about perhaps doing that.
Yeah.
At a goal setting, just.
Okay.
It really doesn't matter, whatever format, but that would be fine.
Well, provide us with some information, yeah.
Kathy, Amy, do we have any kind of dates in mind for for our get-together? I know as we progress through the year, with graduations and other things coming up, weddings. I know John's business is such where he is very busy in the spring and so forth. So
as long as it's not on April Fool's Day.
I understand. Yeah. But I don't know if it's kind of ready for us to pick some dates, but the sooner
Well,
we can,
the
certainly
one
the
thing
better.
that we had talked about at one point too was once we got the community survey information back that just started this week, and I think by the end of February, it should be finished. I don't know if we'll have the final report by then, but we thought that it could be an option to look at some of the ideas and information that comes from that so that we can schedule something after that time frame.
Good.
I think March is pretty much eliminated.
Yeah. And then you get into April and May, and it's,
Yeah, I think you're right, though.
flies.
We need to start settling in a date so people who like to leave the city on weekends will have an opportunity to
at one
schedule.
point, didn't we talk about tying this into more toward the budget process, where the goals that we come up with are then integrated into the budget for the year and
I thought
move
they
in that
kind of
direction?
always were, though.
Well, I know they are, but you know, timing-wise, do it closer to that process.
CIP in August would be perfect.
Well, the
But
one
that
thing.
started so much earlier from a
Yeah.
staff perspective.
does.
That's-
And when we started looking at the budget calendar that was adopted years ago, we looked at having council goal setting the first quarter of the year with the idea, because at that time, there was so much focus on capital investment. And so the goals that were set at the council goal setting were then used to develop the CIP for the next year as well as the operating budget.
Right, but our goals are not so much capital goals anymore. That
Oh, but-
focus.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I was just saying that.
What I was going to
focus-
say was that maybe, I agree, the sooner that we can get dates nailed down, the better. However, it seems to me as though that's going to be driven in part by our responses to this survey.
Right.
Regarding, the manner in which we will meet. Whether it's all day, whether it's Friday, whether it's a Saturday, whether it's a couple of evenings or whatever. So I think that, the first step is to get that survey out there, so to speak.
How about we get that out, maybe, I'm looking for Sarah, who knows how to put things together. There you are. How about I call you and did you copy down things that were said? Okay. And we kind of get something real informal out? Okay. Great.
Okay. Anything else, Kathy?
Yes, I think, Rachel, you're here today, tonight. Would you like to remind us of what you're doing tomorrow morning? Is that tomorrow morning?
It's already tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Feels
It
like it.
only feels like it.
Sorry, it's been a long evening. Tomorrow morning, we actually have a presentation scheduled at the Dublin Community Recreation Center to kind of give an introduction and overview of the Bridge Street code requirements to a variety of local architects and designers who will likely start implementing a lot of the different code requirements. So we're looking forward to this initial opportunity and think it'll be a good discussion. And as always, council members are welcome to attend.
And have you had a good response?
We have about 20 architects attending, so yeah, pretty good response from those we invited and those who RSVP'd, so looking forward to it.
I'll be anxious to see how it goes, and I appreciate you all making that effort to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's 7:30 a.m. Deck open house is 7:30 a.m.
Yes, it's 7:30 a.m. till 10 a.m.
Okay. All right.
Hey, right up my alley.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Is that good? Yes, thank you. All right. Amy?
Well, Kathy stole my goal-setting thunder, which I'm glad that she did, because she and I had a conversation today, and we weren't sure how we were going to kick that off, so I'm glad that that happened. I just wanted to thank council for my birthday gift. That was wonderful, and I'm still enjoying it. It was a gift card to Donata's, so I can take the family out anytime that I'm not feeling dinner being cooked, so that's great. Anyway, thank you for that, and that's really all I have. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since Amy mentioned birthdays, we have to belatedly acknowledge Marcia's birthday, and then we'll just leave it at that. Okay? All right, enough said. We're adjourned. Thank you.